What is ERP? Let's find out what is ERP in a plain and simple language. This is Hassan Mir. The term ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. So what is ERP? Is it a name of a software or is it a name of a company? Actually, ERP is name of a type of software, or you can say a class of software. One of the main attributes of an ERP software is that it provides an end-to-end information management solution for a company. The ERP software could be used by all departments within the company to manage the information. So the objective of an ERP software is to provide right information to the right person and at the right time. A typical ERP software covers various business areas because it's an end-to-end solution for a company. Examples of business areas covered by an ERP software are product management, manufacturing processes, sales, marketing, finance, human resources, procurement, etc. A typical industry-scale ERP software is modular in nature, meaning it consists of various applications. And these applications or modules are connected to each other. Focus of each module is a particular business area. For example, we will have a module to manage finances of the company, we will have a module to manage human resources, etc. These modules, although are almost standalone applications, but they do communicate with each other. Examples of two types of communication are given on the screen. Let's say one module is storing data about a certain entity, let's say employees, and another module wants to refer to employees as well. So module 2 is not going to maintain its own copy of employees table. It's simply going to share information with module 1. That prevents duplication of data. And also information does flow from one module to the other. Best example is the accounting entries that are created by different modules are copied over to general ledger module. So we understand that ERP modules are connected to each other. Since modules are connected, management of a company could run reports on any aspect of the business to get a complete view of activities. This is a very important benefit that connectivity of modules give you a complete view in management reports. Reports help executives make strategic decisions. This is only possible if modules are connected to each other. Another advantage that an ERP gives you being modular is the licensing. If a company requires only 3 modules, it doesn't have to buy all the 200 modules. It can simply purchase 3 modules. So licensing is usually based on group of modules. When we talk about ERP end users, we are mainly talking about 2 types of users, business users and managements or executives. Business users are responsible to perform day-to-day operations. Usually they enter data, they run operational reports, and management is not responsible for day-to-day operations. They are merely responsible to make decisions, and in order to make strategic decisions, they have to run reports and perform inquiries. Sometimes they directly use ERP systems, sometimes they are indirect users. The process of making an ERP system ready to be used by the client is called implementation. It's not as simple as just simply installing ERP system and start using it. We have to go through an implementation process. And this is what an implementation process looks like from a very high level perspective. Number 1, you find out the business requirements of the client, how client wants to use ERP system and what is he expecting from ERP system, and how client is currently performing its business. So this all comes under the business requirements. Second, you configure the ERP system in such a way that it starts behaving as per the requirements. ERP systems are very flexible. They could be configured in any way you want. And number 3, if there are any unique requirements of the client that are unable to be met by any functionality of the ERP system, then those requirements are called gaps. We list all the gaps and we come up with a solution for those gaps. So we do understand that implementation of an ERP project is to find out how client wants ERP to work and then to configure the ERP accordingly. But the implementation is an opportunity for the client to fix how he does things. He might want to modify the way he does things and change them according to the industry best practices. So there are one way of doing things which are accepted by the industry, and then they are not so good way of doing things. So usually in ERP project, some business process restructuring is also involved, where client is modifying, or client wants to modify the way he perform the business processes. So then you will configure the ERP system not according to how currently client is doing business processes, but how he wants to do business processes after accepting industry best practices. ERP implementation is performed as a project. So a project is initiated to complete ERP implementation. Different roles take place in a typical ERP project. Keep in mind that one role may be filled up by multiple people in a larger project, and one person may fill up multiple roles in a smaller project. So that's why we're talking in terms of roles. So here are the important roles. We have network administrator, operating system administrator, database administrator, ERP system administrator. Then we have a project manager, functional consultant, technical consultant, and business analyst. Keep in mind that ERP application is a separate software and database management system is a separate software. ERP application or software does require a database to manage the data. ERP system stores data in the database management system, and it retrieves data whenever necessary from the database management system. Some ERP software like Oracle E-Business Suite only works with certain databases like Oracle. Some ERP systems like SAP, for example, can work with multiple data with one of the many choices of databases, so client can decide which database they want to use. But the bottom line is that ERP system is a separate software, database management system is a separate software. Since we have a database management system in the picture, we need to have a DBA or database administrator. This person is responsible for managing the health of the database as well as the security of the database, including the backups, recovery, and all those functionalities. Then we have ERP system administrator, and this person is responsible for managing the health and security of the ERP software. So DBA is responsible for making sure database is available whenever needed, and ERP system administrator is responsible for making sure that ERP system is working as per expectations. Now keep in mind that the term ERP system administrator is a generic term. When talking in terms of implementation of a particular ERP system, then different terms are used. In SAP, the term basis administrator is used. In Oracle world, the term system administrator is used, but we're talking in a generic context right now. Keep in mind that both ERP and database software are running on top of an operating system. Operating system is running on top of the hardware. Since we have an operating system in the picture, then we need a person to look after operating system. Examples of operating systems are Linux, Unix, or Windows. Operating system administrator is the person who is responsible for the health of the operating system. So we understand that operating system administrator is a person who looks after the health of the operating system. We also have network in the picture. Network connects all the computers together. Network is not simply collection of wires. It also includes those pieces of hardware that assist in connection like routers and hubs, etc. So we need a person to look after the health of the network, and that person is called network administrator. Then we have functional consultants. They are the most important people in an ERP implementation project. They possess strong knowledge of the ERP system. They are the experts in configuring the ERP system, and they are the experts in how the ERP system works. They collect business requirements and they perform the configuration to the business. Then we have business analysts. They are the users either from the business side or they are external consultants, but they expect to understand how business should work, and they act as a bridge between functional consultants and the business. And all the business requirements are supposed to go through the business analyst. So they are the experts of how business works, and functional consultant is closely in touch with the business analyst in terms of finding out the business requirements. Then we have functional gaps, as we have already discussed. Not all business requirements could be handled by the ERP functionality. There are always few things left, and most common example is some unique report that client needs, which is not available in out-of-the-box ERP system. So those requirements are called gaps, and these gaps have to be filled up, and filling up those gaps are called customizations, because somebody has to go under the hood and modify the system so that it could fill the gaps. And those somebody who go under the hood are called technical consultants. They are expert in the technology on which ERP system is built on. Like SAP technical consultants would be expert in ABAP language. Oracle technical consultants would be expert in not only PLSQL language, but also the tools like forms and reports on which the ERP system has been built on. So these people will go under the hood and modify the system so that some functionality could be created to fill out those gaps that were there. So we have talked about technical consultants. They're experts in the technology, and they can modify the software to fill out the gaps. They can modify existing reports, existing screens. They can create new reports, new screens, etc. Talking about technical consultants, we have to discuss the concept of interfaces as well. ERP system does communicate with other software running within the company as well as outside the company at supplier or customer sites, for example. And the communication between the two software takes place through interfaces. You can consider interfaces as a set of tables and programs. These technical consultants are expert in writing these programs to put data in interface tables and to read data and validate data that is sitting in the interface tables, and then it could be imported into the actual ERP systems tables. So technical consultants are required whenever ERP system is supposed to communicate with other third-party software. The person who is running the whole show is called project manager. Everybody is reporting to the project manager. A person may be reporting to two people. For example, a DBA might be reporting to project manager for the duration of the project only, and also to his own department manager, maybe the director of the information technology, for example, or vice president or manager in that department. But the point here is that for the duration of the project, all these roles will be reporting to the project manager as well. A person may be reporting to multiple project managers if they are involved in multiple projects. Project manager is a person who is responsible if the project fails and deserves the most applause if project is successful. So he is doing the complex task of coordination between all the roles. When the project is finished, the ERP system is now available to be used by the company, and that is called go live. Go live is the day on which the ERP system is in production. And after that, warranty period begins. This period is already negotiated earlier before the start of the project. During the warranty period, the project team will be providing support. Once the warranty period is over, then project team is not responsible for supporting the application, and somebody else has to take on the support role. Therefore, the training will be taking place by the functional consultants, and they will be training either the staff members or maybe some other contractors if the support role has been contracted out, and they will be trained in what are the common issues, how to resolve those issues, etc. Now let's talk about backend a little bit. There are multiple computers taking role in the scenario of an ERP system, and these computers are called servers. Most modern ERP systems work on a 3-tier environment. On one tier we have database servers. There could be more than one server as well on a tier. So tier would be a set of related computers. So we'll have database server as one tier, application server, and then the personal computer of users. On application servers, we'll have the ERP system running, and on that we have database management system running, and then we have computers that users are using, and usually only a browser is required to access most modern ERP systems. So the computers that users are using are not really heavy duty, they are thin computers. So in a tier, you can have multiple servers as well to create load balancing. For example, if you have thousands of users, you can have multiple application servers, each connected to the same database server, or maybe multiple mirrored database servers. So this was a discussion about the tiers. Let's talk about environments. Usually a company would have 3 or 4 environments: development, testing, and production. Each environment would require the 3-tier system, and in each tier there could be multiple servers. You perform setup in an environment and you can move the setup from one environment to the other, and the moving of setup is called transporting the setup. So a functional consultant would go in, and after getting the business requirements, he would perform the setup on a development environment, and he would perform some testings, and once he's happy, he's gonna let users do the testing on a test environment and a production environment where you can start using the system, and this would be called go live. Sometimes a stage environment is also created, and the purpose of stage environment is to reflect what we have in production so that we can troubleshoot critical production related issues. When we have an issue in production, we do not want to start doing things in production directly. We take a copy of the image of production and put in a different environment where we can do experiments and do some troubleshooting. Usually stage is created after going live. So a company could have 4 environments, but definitely 3 are recommended, but 2 is mandatory. You can't just have production. You have to perform the configuration, you have to perform the development and testing on a different environment than in production. The term refresh is used to copy latest production data from production to other environments. So when you are going live, obviously there is no data in production, but when you have gone live, you might want to copy production's data to other environments so that you can do troubleshooting, and if you want to do some testing, you need to have latest data from production. So the term refresh is used for that purpose. So it's not that you go into the company, you find out the business requirements, and you start configuring the system. There is a lot of documentation that is taking place in a project, and here are some examples of the documentation. So all these documents are kept on a central place that is dedicated for that particular project. Examples include project charter. This is created by the project manager. Then we have project plan, requirement gathering document created by functional consultant. Then we have functional mapping documents, configuration document, gap analysis document. All these are created by functional consultants. Then we have functional technical specification documents, test scripts, issue log, period status reports that have to be submitted by all the members. Now let's talk about each in a little bit more detail. So let's start with project charter. This is created by the project manager. This is the starting point of the project. At this point, maybe the team has not even be created, so project manager has to write a project charter. Charter is like a constitution. It is very high level, but it describes the purpose of the project, why it was initiated, what are the risks, what are the dependencies, and who is sponsoring the project, and what do we expect to get out of the project, what is the end date. End date is very important for a project. Project is not a project without an end date. These are the basics of project management. Then we have a project plan, and this is a living document. It keeps on changing, and project plan basically gives a roadmap to everybody else on what to do. What is the role of each person? What are the tasks that each person has to perform? Who is depending on those tasks? And what is the end date for each task? Project manager creates project plan with the help of other team members. Project manager would ask functional consultants, what do you have to do? What are the estimates of time? How many hours it's going to take? Then project manager will ask technical people, and so on. So simply a coordination work is performed by the project manager. He's not the expert of the ERP system. He's the expert of coordination. Then we have requirement gathering document created by the functional consultant. So as we have already discussed, the first thing functional consultant does is to find out business requirements. This could take weeks or months, and everything has to be documented and signed off by the client. So everybody has to agree, okay, these are the requirements that we want ERP system to deliver in terms of the functionality. Then a functional mapping is performed, for each of the requirement, functional consultant has to provide mapping, meaning he has to say, okay, so this requirement will be fulfilled by this functionality or feature of ERP, this requirement will be fulfilled by this feature, and so on. And at the end, there will be some gaps. So functional consultant has to create a gap document as well. Then, so let's talk about functional mapping document, where functional consultant is providing the mapping between the requirements and the functionality, and then he has to deliver a system configuration document. He has to configure the system, and it's not like he just log into the ERP system and starts performing configuration. The functional consultant, has to deliver in writing what setup he would be doing into the actual system. And this document is called system configuration document. This is the gap analysis document that I was talking about. This would be a result of functional mapping document. There would be some requirements that are left to be mapped. Those will be covered in gap analysis document, and functional consultant will also provide some suggestions on how these gaps could be filled. And once everybody agrees, technical consultants will come in, and then a specification document would be created for each gap. A specification document would deliver the details of the solution, and this solution will involve some customization. So functional consultant will provide functional specifications that, okay, please write a program that should do this and that, and technical consultant will provide technical specifications saying, okay, this program will do this and this, but this program will do this and this using this algorithm or this strategy at the back end, and this would be the flowchart of the program. So all the technical details will be covered by the technical specification document, and sometimes technical consultants write both functional and technical specification documents. So usually it's a call of a project manager who wants to write which document. Obviously, logically, it has to make sense. Then we have test scripts created by functional consultants and or business analyst, based on if business analyst is an expert of the ERP system or not. We know that functional consultants will be performing configuration on the development environment, and after doing their own testing, they will give the system to users to test on a test environment. Users need to know what they have to do. Test script is a document telling users what to do and how to write the results so that they could be tracked. Some issues will come up as a result of testing, and everything has to be documented, and it's called an issue log document that documents all the issues that are coming up. Project manager is responsible for managing this document. However, he might want to contract this task out to some other helper, but mainly it's a role of project manager. Then we have status reports. Usually in sophisticated projects, written weekly status reports are delivered to the project managers by each member of the project, and these are called status reports. And these status reports will include what has been done last week, what are they expecting to do next week, any issues, any risk they are seeing, any red flags, and so on. Methodology is a series of steps that a person will be taking to implement an ERP software. Methodology is not something that is married to the ERP software. In fact, it is proprietary to the consulting company. One consulting company can use its own methodology to implement the same ERP project that would be implemented using a different methodology by the other consulting company. Methodology can be considered as set of documents and series of steps. So all the important document templates are included in the methodology. For example, project plan, the configuration document, test scripts, and so on. So methodology does give you document templates, but it's not really just the documents. It is a little bit more than that as well. So what is the relationship between methodology and the project plan? So the steps of configuration recommended by the methodology will actually become part of the project plan, because when project manager will ask the functional consultants give me the steps that you will be taking so that I can note down in the project plan. The functional consultant will take a look at the methodology and he will reply back with a series of steps. So the steps in the methodology will become part of the project plan, but methodology is not the same thing as the project plan. For example, functional consultant may come back to the project manager saying, okay, I have to create these, and this document. So I'll take this, and this much time. And these documents have to be signed off by this, and that person. So all this will become part of the project plan. Again, keep in mind, methodologies are not married to the ERP software. They are married to the consulting companies. There's a term called sign-off that you will hear in an ERP project. Keep in mind that there are some sign-offs that are required on some documents before project can move on. And the sign-off has to be provided by the parties who will be actually responsible for using the system. For example, one sign-off is at a point where configuration has taken place in the test environment, and before we can perform the configuration in the production environment, users have to provide a written sign off saying that they're happy with testing. Otherwise, system cannot move forward and ERP system cannot be implemented in production. So sign off is important at different stages of the project, especially after the testing is finished. Talking about the testing, there will be different types of testing that will take place. As we understand that functional consultants will find out the requirements and they will do the first implementation in the development environment. In the development environment, they will perform two types of testing. Let's talk about unit testing first. Let's say if 3 modules are being implemented, that each module will be tested on its own to make sure it's working fine. So that is unit testing. And once individual module is tested separately, all of these modules will be tested together if they are sharing information properly and data flow is happening properly among modules, and that is called system testing. System testing is more focused on the interconnectivity of all the modules. So once unit testing and system testing has taken place in the development environment, the configuration will be copied over to the test environment where users will perform user acceptance testing. This is a mandatory testing that takes place, and sometimes a little bit training is incorporated as well during user acceptance testing, but it has to be signed off by the user saying that they're happy with the system before ERP system can go into production. And whatever problems come up during UAT, they have to be logged in the issue log, and they have to be fixed before we can go live. And sometimes performance testing takes place on a separate environment or in the same environment once UAT is finished. And this is in the picture if there are tons of transactions that has to be dealt with by the ERP system. So if we have huge number of transactions in the picture, then performance testing will be in the picture, and here dummy data will be loaded and it will be tested if system is able to process all these data in the required time or not. Sometimes data migration is part of the project plan as well. If there is some legacy system before the implementation of a new ERP system, then client may want to migrate part of the data or all the data from legacy system into the ERP system. Then the data migration becomes a mini project. It is sometimes very complex to deal with. Both functional consultants and technical consultants have to take role in this mini project, and sometimes it's a mega project, sometimes it's a project on its own, sometimes data migration is part of the ERP implementation project. So, but not all the time data has to be migrated. So the term data migration means migrating data from old legacy systems into the new ERP systems. It's not simply copying a data, it has to be massaged and brought into a new format and sometimes filtered. So it is very complex than simply copying the data from one system to the other. Here are some leading ERP software in the market. We have SAP, always been the market leader, has a largest market share. Then we have Oracle E-Business Suite, PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, and we have Microsoft Great Plains. So all these three, Oracle E-Business Suite, PeopleSoft, and JD Edwards, are from Oracle Corporation. They have purchased companies along the way. So now they have all these three leading ERP software in their product portfolio, and they have created Oracle Fusion ERP by combining the best parts of all these 3 ERP systems, which is also in the market. To learn more about Oracle ERP software and to become a functional consultant, please visit my website handsonerp.com, where I provide step-by-step training in how to become a functional consultant of Oracle eBusiness Suite. Thank you for watching this presentation.